Good morning, folks. I'm Kevin Hall from Columbia, South Carolina. The law firm is Womble Bond Dickinson. It's a privilege to be here and a privilege to introduce a friend to you. We love Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. Lindsey's a fighter. He's a winner. I've had the pleasure of knowing him as a friend, as a client, as his campaign treasurer, in a lot of different capacities over the years. Let me tell you a couple of reasons he makes us so proud. We're here to talk about the rule of law. In our partisan political climate, the rule of law and a commitment to higher principles is often set aside for a lot of partisan bickering and cheap shots. Lindsey has always been effective in the partisan conflicts and at the same time respected the rule of law, promoted the rule of law, and recognized a long-term view. I can remember a number of years ago when Senator Graham and others were criticized for this thing called the Gang of 14 that ended up getting us these two guys, Justices Alito and Roberts, on the Supreme Court. Now, at the time, people were upset within the Republican base, but look what a little bit of passage of time has done and demonstrated. Leadership, commitment to the rule of law, commitment to a Senate advice and consent process that is consistent with the Constitution and not just the partisan leanings of the day. So you guys saw the guy we know in South Carolina in the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. You saw a guy that knew what was going on was wrong and stood up and said it in terms that anybody could understand. And I suggest to you we would not have Justice Kavanaugh but for Lindsey Graham and the leadership of some others as well. Lindsey has chaired the Judiciary Committee now for about 90 days. In that period of time, Attorney General William Barr has been confirmed. Remember how smoothly that went? That's leadership. The Senate has confirmed 7 circuit court judges and one to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. The Judiciary Committee itself has confirmed 11 circuit judges and 40 district court judges. Again, leadership. Think about the legacy of those appointments over time. And finally, in this concerning environment with questions about DOJ and FBI objectivity and fairness and Fisa abuse, who would you rather have get to the truth than Lindsey Graham? It'll be rigorous, it'll be fair, it'll be thorough. This is our Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. He's a fighter, he's a winner, and I want you to know how much we appreciate him in South Carolina and what a privilege it is to introduce him to you. Senator?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. I have been well introduced. You can do my funeral, but no time soon, Kevin. So listen, I really appreciate that introduction. Kevin is one of the greatest lawyers in the state. He's helped me on my campaigns since I began. He was the treasurer, and if you want to give, now's the time. Where's Kevin? Okay. So anyway, thanks for having me. I appreciate you starting on time. You're Republicans. We're actually starting early. I got to go to the Republican Jewish Coalition today. They're everywhere. Republicans are everywhere. And RJC has been terrific. I'm headed out to Las Vegas. But again, thank you for the kind introduction. I thought I'd get right into it. We change senators at home every 50 years where we need to or not. I took Senator Thurman's place, and he was elected in '54. I was born in '55, so look forward to seeing you for many years to come, I hope. But Republican lawyers, Democratic lawyers, Libertarian lawyers, Vegetarian lawyers, whatever kind of lawyer, people don't like us until they need us. So if you can't take a lawyer joke, you shouldn't be a lawyer. If you can't take a joke in general, you sure as hell should not be in my business. So people laugh until they need us. Then when, this whole lawyer thing, bar talk, hang 'em high. I was a military lawyer, judge, prosecutor, defense attorney, until they put a human being in front of you. Then all of a sudden this gets hard when you're in a jury, right? You're talking about crime until it's your grandson stopped for DUI, and you want somebody to help you. The bottom line here is the committee. I'm honored to be the chairman. And how do you get to be chairman? You outlive everybody to your right, and you keep getting elected. So it's nothing to do with merit. That's why I like the Senate. I think I picked the right place for me. So my time has come, and I'm going to try to use it wisely, and I appreciate Kevin and all those in South Carolina who've helped me. We are in kind of divided times, as you can tell. I was one of the 16 people that ran against President Trump, and he beat my brains out, and he loves for me to say that, so I'm on C-SPAN in case he's watching. I acknowledge my defeat. I want to help you, and I push back when I have to, but I want you to be successful. When I first got asked over to the White House, he says, I don't have your phone number, and I said, there's a reason for that. Sort of the highlight of my campaign. He said, I'm sorry about it. I said, no, that's sort of the most noted I got was my phone number. But we found some common ground. I've come to like President, and he likes himself, so we've got a lot in common already. So far, so good. A lot of noise, and it can be ugly at times, but the 30,000-foot view thing is pretty good if you're a Republican. And I want to talk a bit about Kavanaugh, because I don't want people to think this is just about Trump, because it's not. Now, Brett Kavanaugh, anybody know Brett? Yeah, okay, I've known him for 20 years, right? What you see is what you get. He worked in the Bush administration. He was Bush's private secretary when he was president. Nothing came across President Bush's desk that he didn't see. He was very closely involved in 9/11 in the White House on that day. And so Brett is about as good as it gets on our side. He is one of the great conservative minds of his generation. Do you agree he would be on any Republican's list if they were president? No outlier here. And I told the Democrats, this is a good day. It could have been Judge Judy. It's Brett Kavanaugh. So, let's celebrate this. And so I've known him for a long time. I can tell you it's about as mainstream as you ever get on our side. And he was the Bush guy. So President Trump had a list of people he identified that he would choose from, which was unusual, and he won. So he's not doing anything exotic here. And on that list are a lot of good names, and I'm sure many of you know those folks. But Brett and Neil Gorsuch were two of the greatest picks any Republican could have made. Now, so I vote for Sotomayor and Kagan, get the crap beat out of me at home, but that's okay. I thought that's the way it should be. I'm trying to do it the way it used to be. Senator Thurmond voted for Justice Ginsburg, not because he agreed with her, because he thought she was a qualified person. And how could you say she's not? Senator Hollings, the longest-serving junior senator in the history of the country, in case you're watching, happy recent birthday, Fritz. He voted for Justice Scalia. You'll never convince me that he agreed with Justice Scalia, but he was highly qualified. So I think one got 96 votes, one got 97. What the hell happened? Just a complete deterioration of the confirmation process. And why is it always our people? Bork, Thomas, bit of Alito, now Kavanaugh. Well, I don't know why it's always our people, but things have changed, and not for the better. So there's one person not mentioned in Kavanaugh yet, and that is Susan Collins. Of all the people who really mattered, I would put her at the top of the list. Senator Collins gave an explanation of her vote that is the epitome of what the founders had in mind when it came to advising consent. It was logical, well-researched. She took the allegations seriously. She thoroughly vetted him personally, looked at every case he authored, acquired a law professor to advise her, spent an enormous amount of time looking through Brett's record, and came to the conclusion that the accusations against him were unfounded and unjust, and that the body of his work demonstrated a keen intellect, a solid traditional conservative judge. So I want to thank Susan Collins for saving the rule of law. Now, what Susan did is sustainable. If every senator did what she did, you may not vote yes, but you'll at least have a process that's fair to the nominee, consistent with the constitutional understanding of our role in the Senate. It would make the country proud. It was logical, it was thorough, it was reasoned. The process that Brett went through is unsustainable, I hope. Let me tell you why. Who in this room would want to be next if he had failed? Anybody that wanted the job after that, I would probably not vote for because you're crazy. So the bottom line is, if this had worked, they had destroyed this good man, and he had to withdraw, I think that would be very difficult for conservative judges in the future to step up and say, hey, let me do this. And what I told my Democratic colleagues is, if you can do it, we can do it. And it probably would unleash forces on the right. And I am glad Brett made it. I am very proud of the fact that President Trump did not pull the plug on Brett Kavanaugh. A lot of people would have been tempted to do that. The accusations were emotional, and the president stood behind his nominee. So it really did matter to me that Brett made it through, because if he had failed, it would have destroyed the Republican Party, because most Republican activists would have believed that we let them down. And I want you to know that what happened to Brett should never happen again to any judicial nominee. I'm well aware of the problems associated with sexual violence, sexual harassment. Only God knows how many women take abuse to their grave. I'm glad women feel better about coming forward, long overdue. But everybody not only should be heard, there should be a process of evaluating the accusation. It's called the rule of law. And it was turned upside down. Can you imagine what would have happened if we had done this to a Democratic nominee? That if it had been a male Democratic nominee, let's say from California, and a woman in South Carolina came to me in confidence saying, I had a bad experience, please don't tell anybody, and somehow it got out. That if I had recommended a conservative lawyer who never told the woman that the Democrats would have come to South Carolina, she didn't have to go to Washington. If during the hearing of the Democratic nominee, a Republican suggested, you're not presumed innocent when you're charged with when you're accused of a crime, because you have a different philosophy than we do. It would just be outrage all over the country. The double standard in the media is appalling. And it's appalling in the 2016 campaign. So thank you for helping those who did help Brett, who stood by Brett, much appreciated. He's going to be a great justice, and I'm hoping after this debacle we'll get back to a more mainstream way of challenging a nominee, that will adopt the Susan Collins way of evaluating a nominee, not the mob who followed her around and myself and spit on us. That's not exactly what the rule of law is all about. So Mueller. Mueller is has done his job. To all those who wanted Mueller to do his job without political interference, mission accomplished. I stood up during this debate and said, listen, I trust Mueller. I've known him for 20 years. I think he'll be fair to the president, the country as a whole, and I'll make sure I can do everything I can to let him do his job without political interference, and he did. The president has fought back. He fought back hard, but it was an accusation against him. So Barr, anybody know Bill Barr? Bottom line is, that's as good as it gets on our side. So the point I want to make to you is not just about Trump, it's about us. Kavanaugh was the Bush guy, and they tried to kill him. in terms of him being able to be on the Supreme Court. Barr has served as Attorney General, one of the best reputations in this town. And look what's being said about him. So don't think for a minute this is about Trump. It's about Republican conservatives. That's what this is about. And we're going to fight back. And we're going to put the interests of the country ahead of anything else when we do our fighting. So Barr will be coming to the committee. He'll tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I am very convinced he would not tell the country Mueller's findings unless they were accurate. Why in the world would he say there's no evidence of collusion unless the report said that? Insufficient evidence to prosecute on obstruction of justice unless the report said that. All of a sudden, because it's Trump, every rule in the book has to be violated. 6E no longer matters because it's Trump, right? Classified information doesn't matter because it stands in the way of getting an outcome, which is to destroy Trump. The rule of law has been obliterated because this insane hatred of President Trump. I'm sure we have made our mistakes in the past, but I've never seen anything like this. It's all about an outcome. So when Mueller's report is put to bed, and it will be in May, and the American public will be allowed to see that which is appropriate under the rule of law and national security doctrine, we will move on. And I'm going to lead the charge to move on. Moving on means looking back. So, role reversal. Role reversal. Play this out for a minute. You had the Republican Party hire a foreign agent to gather dirt on Hillary Clinton using Russian sources, producing a document that was used to get a warrant that's complete garbage against a Clinton campaign operative. Do you think they would want to know more? If the two agents investigating Clinton openly talked about how much they hate her guts and hope she gets no votes, and they like Trump, do you think we would have heard about that by now? You can't find this anywhere but on Fox News. It just stuns me how this doesn't matter. Well, it matters to me and it matters to you. It's called the rule of law. So here's the question before the committee and the country. Was a FISA warrant issued against an American citizen, Carter Page, based on a document prepared by a foreign agent paid for by a political party that is unverified to this day? Don't you want to know the answer to that? What if the answer is yes? Was there a counterintelligence investigation opened up against the Trump campaign without real solid evidence? Question: why did not the people in charge of the counterintelligence investigation tell the president and his campaign, you're being targeted by a foreign entity? That's the purpose of a counterintelligence investigation. Senator Feinstein, my dear friend, had a person in her office believed to have been connected with the Chinese government. They did a counterintelligence investigation, informed her of that fact, and she fired the guy. Why did they never tell Trump? Any of you done criminal trials? How, and I'm not interested in retrying Secretary Clinton, I am interested in how the hell this investigation ended and how it got started and how it was handled. I promise you, very few people get interviewed by the FBI without being under oath and having two staff members there. Everything normal didn't exist, and why? So Mr. Horowitz is going to tell us about the FISA warrant process from an IG perspective. I'm hoping that Attorney General Barr will appoint somebody to look back and see if there was criminality. I can promise you, As oversight chairman, we're going to dig deep to find out how it got so off the rails and take corrective action if necessary. We're going to do that because the rule of law cannot survive against mob rule. The confirmation process was attacked viciously, and it barely withstood the attack. Campaigns are going to be targeted by foreign governments in the future. We need to have rules that are fair and will work for both sides. The Fisa court is an important tool. It cannot be abused for political purposes. Somebody has to watch those who watch us. We have separate branches of government for a reason. I'm going to try to inform you the best I can what happened in 2016. No reasonable person doubts that Mr. Mueller was not well qualified, because he is. No reasonable person doubts that after 2 years and $25 million and 40 FBI agents, the verdict is in on the Trump campaign. And no reasonable person should not want the Congress and others to figure out how this happened. So I am going to go on that journey. I'm going to do it as much in collaboration with my Democratic colleagues as possible. I don't have anybody to punish, no one to reward. I'm trying to find out what happened so it doesn't ever happen again. And I'm going to do other things on the committee. We're going to deal with the problems that matter to you, like a broken immigration system. We're going to fix the loopholes if we can. That if you're from the Northern Triangle countries and you can bring an unaccompanied child, you bring a minor child with you as a family, you're never going to get deported, because we can't send you back because you're a non-contiguous nation, and people are taking advantage of that. Unaccompanied children are coming by the thousands. They can't be deported unless they're from Mexico or Canada. 98% never leave the country. I can only imagine the journey. We have magnets in our laws on asylum. If you put 1 foot in the country and claim a credible fear, you stay. There's no bed space to keep you. We let you out, and you never come back. That's chaos, right? We need to fix that. I want to fix immigration from a wider perspective. I want merit-based immigration. I want E-Verify. I want walls at work. I want visas, overstays to stop. I want more legal immigration. As to the 11 million, if you're a non-felon, you can stay, learn the language, pay a fine, get in the back of the line, don't cut in front. We'll fix this. I just don't want 11 million 20 years from now. We're going to deal with social media. What are the privacy rules? We have none. Who takes down content? Is it because of a liberal bias in California, or is there some guidance we should give these social media companies about how to affect your Twitter account or your social media posting? When it comes to protecting these platforms from foreign interference, are we doing enough? No. So the whole area of social media is pretty much unregulated, and I believe in free enterprise, but I also believe in responsibility. We're going to do something about extreme risk orders. We're not going to have a national standard or a national law, but we're going to encourage states to allow police officers to petition courts in their state when there's sign as somebody is about to blow and kill us, kill people, that they can stop them before it's too late with ample due process. We're going to do stuff that matters as much as we can, as often as we can, as bipartisan as we can. But we're not going to be deterred by a media that is going nuts when it comes to Trump, and about a Democratic Party that cannot apparently reach much across the aisle because it's Trump. We're not going to let that deter us from finding out the truth about what happened in 2016. And when it comes to judges, more solid conservatives. End on this thought. Everybody in this room has a unique responsibility now. because there is no requirement to get a vote from the minority party, it is important for us to send to the president names of people who are highly qualified conservatives. Since you don't have to have a one Democratic vote to get a judge confirmed, and it may be reverse here soon, down the road, who knows, it puts pressure on all of us to make sure that the people we send are not ideologues, solid conservatives. The biggest fear I have about the rules change is that over time, the hardest of the hard in both parties are going to drive judicial nominations. You don't have to collaborate anymore. You don't need 60 votes. All you need is within the party in charge. So my fear is that the judiciary is going to become more ideological. And the only way to prevent that is have the party in charge to have some discipline. This is where the National Republican Lawyers Association is important. You need to help me and the president to make sure that we are filling these vacancies with highly qualified people like Brett Kavanaugh. And on our watch, to set a standard that is sustainable. My goal as chairman of the Judiciary Committee is, when this is all over, the way I conduct myself in the committee is sustainable over time. Thank you very much.